supposed to do this a couple months ago, but man, so I just retired from the military, and within the past month and a half, November 1st, and I had the opportunity to be the MC at like at this military veterans like conference or whatever at
Uh-huh.
UCLA, and I was like, man, like it was and it was just about veteran transition and all these different things. So I was like, it was just, I was like, man, I gotta jump on this.
Yeah, man. I've been impressed with your background and
Thank you.
had a chance to listen to a couple of your episodes with Todd and another individual as well. I think the latest one you did was with another Marine
Yeah,
uh, as well. So, man, you know, it's easy in whatever you do to just get on autopilot
yeah.
and just start to glide. And I can appreciate when someone's intentional on how they show up
Thank you.
because attention is currency, man.
Yeah,
And when you get people's attention, one of the ways you can let individuals know that you appreciate them is how you show up through your thoughtfulness. Maybe it's something you're saying something specific to them about their story or the quality of your questions. And also, too, just, congrats to you and what you've accomplished and being in that veteran space. I come from a veteran law enforcement family, first responders.
yeah.
So
I checked that
before
out,
I
man.
went into, yeah, before I went to Southeast Missouri State, I was actually about to enlist in the Army.
Wow.
And then SEMO came and gave me a scholarship and all that. Yeah. Yeah. So, man, congrats to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You just made my day with those kind words. Thank you so much. I felt like it was fate to have you on my podcast because back in September, I went to the National VFW conference in Columbus, and I was talking with Lakedra Houston, and
Mm-hmm.
we connected, and then she had posted something on LinkedIn that day, and you had commented on it, and then it caught my eye. And then so I clicked in her bio, and because I was like, the name sounded familiar, and I was like, oh man, that guy, I remember you playing for the Ravens. And then
Yeah.
like a week later, I recorded a podcast with Todd and asked Todd a question like, hey, what's a friendship from the past 2 to 3 years, a new friendship, and how did that friendship come about? And he was like, Martin, let me tell you about Edgar Jones. So I was like, Todd. And I think I left that part in the episode. I was like, to me, that was a sign. I was like,
Yeah.
I got to get Edgar on my podcast. And then I saw you on the 2 Nights and a Mic podcast, which was absolutely incredible. I've listened to you on, if you've done a podcast within the past like 6 or 7 years, I've listened to you on the podcast. But I have to say, with respect to all the podcasts you've been a guest on, I think the episode you did with Kay Wright and Todd on 2 Nights and a Mic was such a great conversation, from talking about masculinity to talking about the lawnmower story. Edgar, that story was the lawnmower, man, that hit me to my core, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. In what way would you say, like, specifically with that? And thank you for that. Like, what would you say specifically resonated a lot with you with that story specifically?
So it's funny. I called Todd that day, and Todd's a super busy guy, and I didn't want to send him a text. And I said, Todd, I know you're busy, and I was surprised he answered the phone, but he did. That's right. Todd Simmons answered the phone when I called, but he.
Yeah.
No, I called him because it was on my heart. I said, Todd, bravo! Like, just the quality of the questions by him and Kay Wright. That whole conversation, I told Todd, it was more than just men talking about masculinity. It was something different about Black men talking about masculinity, and just there was just something about everything. And Kay Wright's question, Kay Wright was on point, man. I haven't talked to him directly. He's been on my podcast twice, but it's been a while since I've talked to him in person. But I think I shot him a message. But I called Todd again just to give kudos, because that episode was phenomenal. And there was something that actually, I got to check my notes. There's a note that I took from about Kay Wright. He talked about his fear of feeling like he's not pouring enough into other people. because like the whole analogy you talked about the gasoline, there was some
Yeah.
the pouring the gasoline into the actual lawnmower, and it's not the lawnmower, but to the styrofoam cup, and
The styrofoam cup.
yeah, uh, I was cracking up, man, and I resonated with that because I was like, I was that age, and I remember doing stuff like that, and my dad having to stop me.
Yeah.
Uh, I got to find this real quick because it was something K. Wright said along the lines of worrying about whether or not is he good enough to pour in other people's cup, and to hear him say that,
Yeah.
right, with everything that he's accomplished, but yeah, that lawnmower is still a story, and just and then healthy masculinity was
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was it,
Man,
man.
I appreciate your vulnerability and just your openness and saying like, I don't, the comment you made about not feeling like a fraud, was it that you said?
Yeah,
Or
just
not worthy?
not
What was the
worthy, not
statement you
worthy.
made?
Yeah, about
Yeah. Why would you not worthy about pouring into individuals, right?
yeah, yeah, that's just
Yeah. I appreciate
and
I appreciate you sharing that.
I think I actually have notes. I took some notes on the podcast, and I think I sent them to Todd, or I thought I did. If not, like I'll double check because, like I said, man, I called Todd and I was giving him feedback, and there was even things you guys said specifically in the episode, like just certain terms or phrases that I could be like their own podcast, their own episode. Like you guys talked for an hour, but you definitely could have talked for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that would,
Dude, it was some rabbit hole stuff.
yeah,
we
but it was
coulda
so
went
good,
down.
Edgar. And like I was telling, like what I was telling, I
Yeah.
think it'd be cool, like if the next time you guys did an episode, but next time it'd be in person. You, K. Wright, Todd Simmons, just sitting on some couches or something, just having that in-person conversation. I would watch that, man. It was so good. I'd love to host and facilitate that, man, because that was,
Yeah.
again, man. I listened to you on the Dad Bod Fantasy Podcast, and I've checked out just everything you've done, man. But again, yeah, that was kudos, man. That was a phenomenal episode.
Yeah. Man, I appreciate that. And also too, what I've learned to learn in this journey is when you give something to the world, there's this part that I've learned to look for if somebody can expand on it.
Yeah.
To give me something else to think about. So on the 2 nights in the mic, with those things that we talked about, specifically trying to pour gas in a styrofoam cup and that not working, and when I unpacked it a little bit more, is the pouring is an action and it's a choice that you decide to make.
Yeah.
And pertaining to when I'm getting ready to pour inside another person, I've learned in certain situations, maybe I should ask them if they want me to pour first.
Man.
And what that looks like is if let's say you and I are having a conversation, Martin, or I'm talking to a colleague or talking to a friend, if you're ever unsure about what to say or if you should pour, then I found that asking the question is very powerful, and the quality of the question as well. So it's like, hey, do you mind if I give you a piece of advice? Do you mind if I share something with you?
Yeah.
And typically people let you know right in that moment if they're ready for you to pour whatever it is you want to pour inside them and share with them. Because I think for myself, man, how many times have I shared something with somebody, try to give a piece of advice, and they was like, I didn't want that.
Yeah.
That's not what I needed right now. Now, I think I also would say it's in my opinion that it also is depending on if this person is like in a crisis mode where things are about to, like, if they take one more step, like their life or like someone could potentially be in danger, right? Like this is a serious situation.
Yeah.
So at that point in time, I ain't asking you no questions. I'm just going to give you the advice and I'm going to tell you right during that moment. But the power in how you frame questions and the quality of the questions, and people either A, telling you what they need, or I found that it's either the other door, which is they don't know, so they got to be a little bit more thoughtful about how they respond to you on that.
Exactly. No, that's a great point, because I've something I've learned over the past 2 years. Really, so I've had my podcast for 8 years. I started in January of 2018, but really been within the past 2 years. I read the books Turning Pro by Stephen Pressfield. That's really when I started kind of turning up the notch of my podcast. But anyway, one thing I've uncovered over the past 2 years is that the quality of our lives depends so much on the questions that we ask.
Yeah.
I mean, even for you, imagine in the film room, your understanding of a defense or the opponent's offensive scheme 100% depends on the way you understand, depends on the terms and how you're asking the question. Yeah, I love that you said that, man. That's a great point.
Yeah, dude. And it's also one of these things that you always hear people talk about growth, like growth. And I've had a lot of conversations with people, athletes, veterans, business owners, about like really what is the genesis of growth? Like, what does it start with? And I found that for me in my life, and from talking to a series of different people, growth starts with awareness about yourself, having awareness about yourself, and being curious enough about what am I doing and why are we doing it. And I would say that stagnation starts with defending beliefs, certain beliefs you've been afraid to question.
That's really good.
Like the growth starts with the awareness of myself. And then I'm curious about like, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing well? What's something I need to improve on? Then team aspect, like what are we doing well as a team? How are we performing? And then we're curious enough to even go deeper with that by asking the quality questions. And I would say when you start to get stagnant is when you are not curious about what you're doing and you're not questioning or afraid to question certain beliefs that have been instilled inside of you, whether it's from childhood or high school, college. As we get older, we're not questioning like or curious about like why are we doing this? What's the purpose behind this? And not from a place of like, I'm just trying to be a jerk about it. But like I'm really seeking to get a better understanding about this for myself first, and then in the scope of me working alongside people.
That all leads to, I want to say 3 quotes, and these, so I love that we jumped right into the conversation because I had this whole intro planned out, but we called an audible. I do want to read these 3 quotes because I think I've heard you say these, or they're quotes that I've heard and it made me think of you. The first one is, your strength can be your kryptonite. The second one is, treat everything like it's your first project, Biggie. And the last one, and certainly not least, and the last and certainly not least is, do you have people in your life that they can handle the fuel you are pouring out? And I know that's from the lawnmower story specifically, or for the styrofoam cup.
Yeah.
But those are 3 quotes that I wanted to share and that I took note that I thought were fitting for this episode.
Man, I love that. With that first quote, if you don't mind, I'd like to definitely speak to that because I've been doing a lot of processing around that. You know, there's things that we've had to navigate through as kids and as teenagers and as we got into college and as we've gotten and became an adult. And you typically find that the individual you had to create and become as a kid based off of the challenges and the things that you've navigated through and went through, typically, if not dealt with properly, can become the hardest person to manage as an adult.
Yeah.
It's like,
that's good. That's deep, man.
It's deep. I be going deep with myself and sometimes it's like, man, like, I don't know if I want to look in that closet right now of like, what's going on for real, you know? But I found that the part of Edgar that I had to, the part of Edgar that I created as a youngster to be strong, to push through, to navigate through challenges, if not careful, as I got older, that part of Edgar became the hardest part for me to manage, because at times I didn't want to ask for help because I got this.
Yeah.
And I'm good. Because quite frankly, at times in my life, like I needed to like push through. The parts of Edgar that was afraid of asking for help because I feel like I may be judged, or maybe I didn't hear other men say it. So I was like, well, this is not the norm. The parts of me that was okay of just running on my own as a youngster, because a part of me as a kid, like I spent a lot of time by myself because I'm the oldest out of three. So I spent a lot of time by myself.
Yeah.
And there's at times where that works well for an adult, but then sometimes I need to be talking to another person.
Yeah.
I need to get out of all hell. I need to have a conversation with certain individuals in my life. So it's one of those things that, if not careful, the person you created as a kid to protect you can now become the hardest person to manage and deal with as an adult. And your strength can be your kryptonite. And I've seen it on teams. I've seen it in organizations. I've seen it in business. But more importantly, I've seen it with myself. And I have to always like check that on a consistent basis and deal with that.
So is that what are your, what comes to mind when I say healthy masculinity?
What comes to mind for me is being able to, I love Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like Incredible Hulk. Incredible Hulk is my guy.
Yeah.
Now, if we look at the old school Hulk, that's Hulk that he will wake up in the morning, his shirt and his shorts would be ripped up, and he's like, what happened? Like he had no idea.
That's a good impression, by the way. That's a very good impression. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. But now if we look at the Hulk now, there's this part where Hulk is like in the lab and he has his lab coat on and he's green. But he's talking to people in such a normal, calm way.
Yeah.
So to me, I look at that as like being able to regulate your emotions in a healthy way and communicate and talk to people. And it's not saying, it's scaring people. So for me, back to your question, it's Edgar walking around and he's green, he's Hulk, but he has a lab coat on. He's talking to people in such a calm, healthy way. And he's been able to communicate, hey, right now I'm bothered, Martin, based off what you said to me earlier today. And I perceived it and heard it like this. Let me know your thoughts and what you were thinking when you came to have a conversation with me and when you said that. That to me is a healthy way of healthy masculinity. That's one example. Hey, I'm bothered. I just acknowledge like I'm bothered right now. I'm irritated, but I'm going to take my time to process and tell you what I am feeling right now. And also too, I may be missing something. So I want to find out from you, Martin or Jim or whoever I'm having a conversation with. Tell me what was your intentions, or when you said this, what was your thought behind it? So now I'm giving space, and that's also a form of curiosity because now I'm inviting you back into it for you to share, because I may be assuming something or I may be wrong. And that's a possibility as humans, that we're wrong somewhere, we're assuming something. So for me to have healthy masculinity is being the Hulk in the lab coat, but I'm talking to you in such a calm way and I'm telling you and I'm acknowledging what I'm feeling right now, but I'm not drowning the message out by volume.
I love that. You said drowning out a message by volume, because there's a lot of things that just get lost in the sauce. So where does
Yeah.
where does having rumble strips come into play?
Well, the rumble strips are vital just on the highway.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing about rumble strips, they're going to let you know that you're getting close to danger. You're getting off track
Yeah.
a little bit. So for me, the rumble strips are important in all aspects of my life, business, personal, as a husband and as a father, spiritually for me as well. As I'm approaching situations as a speaker and as a coach, having rumble strips put into place. And I look at rumble strips as people and systems that can remind you who you are, what you're doing, and also question and ask you why you're doing what you're doing and push back a little bit. Because if I'm always looking out of my lens of what I think I should be doing or how I should respond, then that's not the proper approach to look at and say, all right, this is the approach I should take all the time for myself.
Yeah.
And what I'm doing. So being able to have people that when you start to drift off, they can give you that the vibration in your steering wheel to get you back on track. They say, hey, Edgar, you probably need to think about this, or hey, Edgar, you're wrong, or hey, Edgar, tell me your thought process behind this approach you're going to take with the family or with this business opportunity. And I go back to something I said to you earlier, sitting down talking with one of my mentors, and he's accomplished a lot in sports. And I asked him the question of, this time you're going into the offseason, what's the approach you're going to take? And I'm thinking he's going to get into all playbooks and schemes. And he was like, the two questions I'm asking myself every single day, and the team is asking themselves every single day when they go in the facility and when they come out of the facility, that is, where am I wrong? And where am I assuming?
Yeah.
So my rumble strips are people or a system that's put into place that they're sending me the signals of like, hey, Edgar, you're probably wrong over here and you're assuming something. So let me inform you or give you data or have a conversation with you to put that back into the focus.
Man, you have so many great thoughts. So one of the best things I felt like, one of the best life hacks for me in 2025 is really in the past 4 months, I started following your content on LinkedIn. Your posts and your videos, your articles, all the things on LinkedIn they're fantastic. I have probably saved about
Thank you.
like 15 or so. And I mean, there was just so many good things that I was like, oh man, I want to talk to Edgar about this or about that. And I could talk to you for 5 hours, but between
we definitely could.
Yeah. And that's the thing with the podcast. I mean, this is hopefully just a first of many conversations we have on my podcast. But between your LinkedIn articles that I've and content that I've seen, and just listening to you on various podcasts, what comes to mind when I say cut the time in half? And I don't know where I heard that, but it was somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I heard that from a Jay-Z Kanye album, Watch the Throne.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, disclaimer. I'm letting you guys know at the gate. Like, I didn't just came up with that on my own.
Actually,
I heard
actually,
that
I have it in my notes right here. I don't know if you can see it in the yellow. It says Jay-Z and Kanye album, Watch the Throne, New Day song, cut time in half.
Yeah. So Watch the Throne, there's a song on there called New Day, and this is what Jay-Z is singing to his future son, and he basically says along the lyrics, my only job as a father is to be able to cut the time in half. So essentially what he's saying is to give you not just his experience, but his evaluated experience to his kids. And I would say just to individuals that want the information. So if it took me to learn this when I'm 41, I can give it back to a person that they've now learned the lesson at 28 or 32 or 33 or 34.
Yeah.
And the only way you can be able to do that is by not just looking back, but evaluating the experience. Because if you go in a local grocery store right now and it's like, hey, how many of you guys got experience? Like everybody's like, yeah, I got it. But if you say like, how many of you guys got evaluated experience? Like that's more of a thoughtful question of like, did I evaluate the lessons? Did I evaluate the highs and the lows? And did I take time to work through that as well? Because along that journey, there's going to be some shame and guilt and some mistakes and some things that you have to forgive yourself for. And working through that you now can show up to give that to the audience, give that to the person, that they now can take it and do what they would like to do on their own. And for me, and thank you for the kind words with the post and the comments you made about LinkedIn. Man, if you was to ask me 2 years ago, like, did I see myself doing the things I'm doing now? Like, I was like, yeah, no, I don't. I did not see that. Because for me, when I retired, it was a lot of just going back into solitude and slowing down and doing a lot of work on myself. And that's a continuous journey of becoming. Like, to me, it's not about just, well, how good do you want to be? How great do you want to be? Now the question I'm asking myself is, Edgar, who are we becoming? And what am I capable of? So that journey of like doing that work on my own through therapy, through keeping commitments to myself through action, because I would say one of the antidotes to anxiety is action, actually doing the work. So through action, therapy, writing, man, a long, long, long journey of just discovering more of Edgar and evaluating that experience, but then also too, in the evaluated experience, asking myself this question: how is this helpful for the audience? How's this helpful for the reader? How's this helpful for the listener? And that's important for me because it removes the ego. It allows me to show up to say, hey, I'm going to share with you my story, but I want to make this about the person, the people, and for them to take it in their lives and apply it. And it also allows me to show up with a form of humility as well.
So there was actually 3 specific posts without even looking. I can remember in no particular order. One was craving the red dot moment. And I don't remember when you posted. Yeah. So, and this is, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if you know exactly when you posted all, but it's all been within the past, we'll call it since September. There was another post where you talked about the best years on the field was also one of your hardest off of it. And I'm pretty sure that one references your time in Kansas City. And then there was another one that really hit home because you retiring from the NFL. Same thing for me. You had this whole identity your whole life as a football player. I spent 23 years of my life in the military, and I'm 44. So there's something about men, I think, in our 40s and the mental transition that when you have an identity. But yeah, there was something you said about drawing a line between transition and transformation. It's saying it's not just about changing roles, but becoming something new. Yeah, that's. I thought of something else from the 2 Nights podcast. I'm pretty sure that was you that said it was from this episode. Did you pick your son up from school one day and he said he had a good day and then he started crying like and that was a great. There were so many great segments. That was a great segment because even K Wright talked about there was things he wished he would have did better as a father. In hindsight, there is one question I wanted to ask you: is
which one would you say
of the 3? Of the LinkedIn post?
Yeah, but go ahead with your question. Go ahead with your question.
Man, it's hard to say. I'm gonna say the red dot because I think there's a lot of times in life, especially whether there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, we had different career paths. Like you played football at the highest level. I am not an athlete, but there's a similar line between our professions because I was able to achieve a high rank in the military, and there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
compliments that are, there's a lot of external compliments thrown your, basically you receive a lot of external validation. And once you transition from that world, you're not receiving the external validation like you did before. So it's just a mindset shift. And you really have to ask yourself, you have to realize that there's pros and cons, but I realized how much was I relying on external validation from people versus the validation from the spotlight in the mirror.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, man. To give people a little bit more context behind that post, in the NFL, we watch a lot of film, and you brought that up earlier. We probably watch more. We watch more film than we actually spend time on the football field.
Yeah.
We're always studying, and one of the things in film study is the red dot. And what the red dot is the coach literally has a red dot, and he's pointing things out on film that people did well or you did wrong. But for that post, for me in that post, regardless on how great that I did, like I could go out there and get 2 or 3 tackles, ball out. I felt like based off how I felt, and on the mountain of like feeling really good, regardless of my performance, I needed that red dot to be on me.
Mm.
And if I didn't get that red dot on me, or someone didn't point out what I did really, really well, regardless on my effort in the performance, I would feel lesser than. So I really was able to examine that, man, how much am I sitting around waiting for a red dot in order for me to feel happy or feel proud of myself? And it's really made me start to think about that more in life of, am I going around looking for a red dot?
Yeah.
And if no one points the red dot on me and says, Edgar, great job, am I feeling lesser than? And that's where we really start to unpack this external validation, this red dot. And I would say that if your confidence is based off applauses or the red dot, what happens if you don't get the red dot or you get silenced?
Man.
So it's gotten me back to this place of, and this has been my journey with addiction as well, battling with alcohol and the pain pills, which I'm grateful and thankful that I'm sober from alcohol now for 4 years, and the pain pills for
Congratulations.
10 years, probably about 10 years. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. This got me along this journey of, man, you got to really learn how to start patting yourself on the back and saying good job to yourself. Because if we're waiting for people to say good job, like especially if you put the time in and you put the hours in and the effort behind it, then I would even say it's not even just on purpose. It's just that people have so much going on in their lives that you may not hear it.
Yeah.
You may be waiting. So one of the things I do is often is, hey, Edgar, good job, bro, for how you've been showing up. Good job for getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning when it sucked and you were cold and you didn't want to go do that writing, or you did not want to go to the gym. And those micro wins and those micro moments of acknowledging the effort of myself showing up, man, it really plays a big part for me in my life with confidence as well, because it's more important about just me keeping my commitment to myself, because no one is watching, no one is seeing it. Now, that does not mean that it does not mean that I don't appreciate Martin saying, Edgar, awesome job on that post.
Yeah.
Edgar, awesome job on how you've been showing up, because we're human. And the humanity side of us needs the connection. We need to have that feedback, or people being able to shine light on what we're doing well. But if my state of happiness is based off of what someone else says to me, and me waiting for that, then man, you will always be on the emotional roller coaster. And I found that when I played in the NFL, I stayed on that roller coaster because I never learned how to just say good job to myself.
Yeah.
I always waited for the red dot.
Man. Hey, everyone. I want to take a quick break from today's episode to talk about the show's sponsor. Are you retiring or separating from the military soon? Looking for an alternative to the Veterans Group Life Insurance, also known as the VGLI? Reach out to Dan Guzman Life Solutions. Dan is a 27-year United States Air Force veteran and retired command chief. After a lifetime of service, Dan's mission is simple: protect yours. As an independent life insurance producer licensed across multiple states, Dan specializes in helping military families find smart, affordable term life alternatives to VGLI and insurance policies that fit your life and budget. If you want coverage that makes sense, reach out today at danguzmanlifesolutions.com. The link for that will be in the show notes. Now back to the episode. That you're speaking truth to my soul, because that's something I've had to learn over the past couple years. Is a mentor of mine told me, what dominates your thoughts determines your direction. And so, I'm so hard on myself. And I think, like most people, the toughest conversations we often have are with ourselves. So every time I get down on myself, I try to look back like, you know what, man, if 5 years ago, if you would have told, like, Kurt Warner was just on my podcast earlier this year, Kurt freaking Warner. And, my second favorite football player behind you, of course.
Legend.
Yeah, he's my second favorite NFL player behind you, of course. But if you would have told me like now you started my podcast actually 8 years ago, but if you would have told me 8 years ago, hey, one day Kurt Warner is going to be in your podcast, or K Wright's been on it twice, so I have to go back and remind myself of that. Is the version of me 5 years ago, would they be proud of what I'm doing today? And I think so. Man.
Yeah. And too, man, I want to add something else to that. I'm big on writing, and I just published the High Performers Reset, the journal. And before I published that journal, I have been writing for like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Journaling is one of my things. It's therapeutic for me. There's no judgment with a pen and paper. And along this journey of writing, one of the things that I have done, and I do it often, is writing a letter back to myself.
Oh.
So
that's good.
Yeah. And man, I wrote a letter back to the younger version of myself, like the 10 or 12-year-old Edgar with the glasses. And like, thanked that guy for showing up. And thanking for him for the support and pushing me along the journey. Because if that part of Edgar doesn't show up, then we're not experiencing the Edgar that's right now. So at times we forget about that part of ourselves because of all the pain and the stuff that took part, and we tend to leave that part of us in the past. And I found that you have to go back to deal with that, but also thank that part of yourself for what happened and what took place, and how it gave you, how you got strength out of that, how it supported you, how it pushed you. So for me, writing a letter to the younger version of Edgar, and then saying, all right, younger version of Edgar, as we move forward, there are certain things that we cannot do anymore as we move forward in the next phase of our lives.
Yeah.
We cannot operate from, we can just do everything and we can push through everything and we don't need help. Because that younger version of Edgar was like, hey, man, we can just do this. We got to push through. So the importance of writing a letter back to yourself, man, and forgiving yourself for mistakes you made, and saying like, hey, man, like, I forgive you, but now like we got to move forward, like the power of forgiving yourself, because a lot of times as men, we walk around with so much, man, shame and guilt, the heaviness of shame and guilt of decisions we made in the past. And we haven't taken the time or been thoughtful about, like, man, going back and dealing with that. And I would say when you do that, that is a form of being able to release something that now gives us permission to move forth. And it also gives room for new stuff to come in as well. So the writing letters back to the younger version of Edgar, the college version of Edgar, the NFL side of Edgar, man, it's been a critical part of my journey. And it's one of the things I talk about in my journal. It's actually one of the prompts of writing a letter to your younger self. Like, what would you say to the younger version of yourself?
I know what I would say to the 2007 version of you post NFL draft. I would say that was probably the best NFL draft class, easily top 5 of all time. Yeah,
dude.
So we'll get into that. But I want to ask you a serious question.
Beast, bro, in that draft class.
Actually, I want to divert to this real quick, and then I want to go back to a serious question because I have to talk about this draft class. In the first round, there's 4 Hall of Famers in the first round, but at linebacker alone, Patrick Willis, he did okay in the NFL. He's a decent player. Lawrence Timmons, who was
he only retired in 7 years.
Yeah, Lawrence Timmons and John Beeson, who people don't give enough respect to. And then like Brent Selleck got drafted in the 5th round, who ended up being a pretty good tight end. Troy Smith and Ahmad Bradshaw was a 7th round pick. And that's alone from different than Adrian Peterson, Calvin Johnson, Joe Thomas, Joe Staley, Marshawn Lynch, Darrell Revis.
Marshawn Lynch, bro, was in that draft class.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. But like there was so many, like this is all the first. I mean, that's a stacked class. But and it's anyway, I had to get that out there about that class because I know you were undrafted, but it's when you look at that's a generation. That's like a once in a century draft class that I feel like any other year you would have been probably a 2nd round pick or something, man. But it was just it was so ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like it's so ridiculous. Like, but,
dude, you know what's interesting about that is actually 2 weeks ago, me and one of my buddies went back and looked at that entire draft class.
God.
I just forgot about it. And we went back and looked, and I was like, yo, this draft class was stacked.
You can go visit it at Canton. If you want to go see it, go to Canton. All their heads are enshrined or whatever. Like, it's stupid. How great that class was. That's what I would say if I were to write a letter to post-draft Edgar Jones, that's what I would say. Like, hey, man, it just be like that sometimes. But I want to ask, if you were to write a letter I love the idea of writing a letter to your younger self. I've never considered that. And you're onto something with the therapy and all that. If you were to write a letter to, let's say, 2013, was that right after your time in Kansas City, or no? When did you go? Yeah. If you were to write a letter to yourself, but the letter said this, what if what are your thoughts on, and what do you think how would you have received this if present day Edgar wrote a letter to that version of Edgar, and all it said was model the rise, not the result? What comes to mind?
If I was to write a letter to the 2013 Edgar in Kansas City, model the rise, not the result.
Yeah.
I would start off in that letter of being more specific of I would say not just modeling the rise, but taking the inventory of rise of what?
Nice.
Taking, like, I would say, Edgar, be thoughtful about what's rising and what are we doing and what are we modeling. And whatever it is that we're doing, how is this supporting you not just right now, but down the road? Is this adding value to you and supporting you and helping you, not just in the moment, but for down the road?
Mm-hmm.
And here's why I say that. Man, my battle with alcohol, the rise of that started in 2013 a little bit. And then the rise of the pain pills started in 2013 as well. And it started because the tragic situation of my teammate taking his life on my birthday, December the 1st. So, and we played linebacker. And I was at the facility when that tragic situation happened. So it wasn't a question of if I was going to deal with it, it was a question of how was I going to process and deal with that tragic situation that happened with my teammate. And the way I dealt with it was I got injured, but I was still playing.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was prescribed to me was the pain pills. And it just so happened that it was a perfect storm of tragic situation happened with my teammate. The Ravens are balling out. They're about to go to New Orleans and win a Super Bowl.
That's right. Yeah.
And I felt like the only time I could just relax for a little bit was with the pill or with a sip of alcohol. So I would go back and write a letter to that version of Edgar and say, take inventory of what am I modeling and what am I doing and what's rising up, and in the action of what I am doing to process and deal with whatever I'm dealing with that's going on around me. How is this beneficial for me? How does this serve me? And how does this support me, not just in the moment, but down the road?
Yeah. Man.
And that's a form of like the curiosity and the quality of the question. And I'm okay with that because I forgive myself for those moments. But that is what I would say to that Edgar back then. And I will also say to that younger version of Edgar, just because you're performing well on the outside doesn't mean you're well on the inside.
Yeah.
Man, I was balling out that year. Like, dude, I got my first touchdown that year. I was about to do the Pee Wee Herman dance.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you.
Dude, I had this whole dream.
Yeah.
I had this whole dream of like when I scored my first touchdown, I was gonna do the Pee Wee Herman dance when he got on a bar and like the bikers were about to beat him up. And he's like, dun, 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 dun. Like Pee Wee Herman's trying to get himself out of this situation. But that ain't happened when I scored my touchdown. I was so excited. I just took off running, and then I got to the sideline. I was like, oh, I forgot to do my Pee Wee Herman dance. So I got my first touchdown. I was up for the Pro Bowl.
God.
I mean, man, I was also in negotiations with the team because they were thinking about like extending my contract. So
that was a contract year, right?
5+ years, man. I was fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was fighting for so much, man. And I finally got to a year that performance-wise, I was knocking it out the park. But internally and off the field, I was not well. And I think about organizations, and one of the mistakes we can make with people that perform well as far as numbers and crushing it when it comes to sales, we tend to think that those individuals are okay because we're basing everything off the external.
Yeah.
And a lot of times those individuals, those high achievers, they may be suffering in silence because we just forget to check in on them. We forget to ask them, hey, how are you feeling right now? Like, I know you're like crushing it with the sales team, but like, how are you feeling when it comes to, just in life and in general? And they may not share something, but man, I found that when I think about that time in my life, if somebody was to actually ask me that question, I don't know if I probably would have shared anything, but it would have allowed me to slow down a little bit more, because how you're doing and how you're feeling is two totally different questions. I would say that we ask people how you're doing as a hello rather than a question. Actually, when you look at doing, it means like an activity, like I'm actually doing something. But how you're feeling, you really start to slow down and be like, man, how am I actually feeling right now? So if somebody asked me that question back then, Edgar, how are you feeling? I probably wouldn't have said anything in that moment, but I would have slowed down a little bit more to be thoughtful about, man, actually, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling sad. I'm feeling hurt. I'm feeling lost because I just lost my teammate.
Yeah.
I'm feeling some form of grief right now as well. And then the next question would be, what are you doing with that feeling that you have?
Man, that's to your point we were talking about earlier, the importance of question asking, asking the right words within the question, because again, someone could say there's a difference between, to your point, Hey Edgar, how you doing today? Good. Or how's it going? I'm good. And then, if we walk by each other in the hallway, but then you're right, specifically if someone says, "How are you feeling?" You're probably it's going to uh almost force a different response, or at least a thoughtful response.
Mm-hmm.
I used to work with this guy. He would come up and always ask, "Tell me something good that happened today." Just try to put
Yeah.
people, so no, that's really good. I want to transition
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
some lighter topics. These are some fun miscellaneous questions. There's no
Hey, Martin, and before you get into that, man, there's one of my mentors, Clint Bruce. You got to get Clint Bruce on your next episode.
Okay.
All right. This dude's a wizard. Clint is a wizard. He's Navy SEAL, played in the NFL. Shout out to Clint Bruce, man, because Clint has been a big part of my journey and my
I'm
development.
writing the note to myself.
And Clint goes deeper. He's one of those guys that, man, he pulls a layer of the onion back of just going deeper on his thoughts and how we look and process things. But Clint says this, because when it comes to checking in on veterans and people just in his life, when he asks them the question, "Hey, how are you doing? Or how are you feeling?" and they say good, Clint said he responds by saying, "Prove it." Like, prove it. Prove it that you're good. Prove it that you're feeling good. So, like, when you brought that up about the person that asked you that question, it made me think about what Clint says is when people's like, "Oh, I'm doing good." Well, prove it.
Yeah.
Tell me about, like, what's going well for you.
That's really good.
So give me a receipt. Show me something. Tell me something. So
I'll reach out to him, man. If you think he'd be interested, I'll for sure reach out. I'd love to have him on.
Yeah.
I want to bring up some other names. I want to do what I call the name game. I'm just going to say a name. So if you just provide one word or one sentence, hopefully something positive. I think they're all positive people in your life, but yeah, just whatever you want to share.
Yeah.
If I say Todd Simmons,
we'll find out.
If I say Todd Simmons, and you would be like, "That mother." No, I'm joking. The first name is Daniel Brenneman. You just did a post about him this morning.
Thoughtfulness.
Yeah. You said thoughtfulness?
Thoughtfulness.
Okay, I thought you said awfulness. No, thoughtfulness.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, not awfulness. Yeah, let's remove the AW and put a TA. Thoughtfulness. His thoughtfulness in whatever he puts his hand on and whatever he's doing, whether it's content, whether it's creating, how he shows up for conversations as well. Even just his spiritual walk, he's had a big part and a big impact in my life and my faith. My faith is critical, and it's everything for me. And I've always enjoyed being able to talk to men and women that can have conversations with you to get you to dive a little bit more thoughtfulness for me in my walk with Christ. And Daniel does that even when he created that picture, that portrait of 64.
Yeah.
Man, that really moved me because I don't have a photo of capturing that 64. And that's been the photo and the jersey that I wanted to get framed. So him doing that's thoughtfulness.
Yeah, and you're talking about the 64 journey, the 64th story, right? Is that what that's in reference to?
Mm-hmm. Yep. 64. First number they gave me in the NFL, and that's a horrible number as an outside linebacker, but that number has so much meaning behind it. And I found that, and when I made the team, I asked them why they gave me 64, and they said, "We didn't expect for you to make the team," because I switched numbers out when I made the team. I got 91. And regardless throughout my career, regardless on how many numbers I had, I found out, I really understood that my life had always been 64, the underdog story.
Yeah.
Regardless on what number, regardless on what title, what role I was in, it was always 64, the underdog story. And I found that when I talk to a lot of people, they have 64, the underdog's story as well, which is my book I published, 64, the underdog story. You can purchase it on Amazon.
And I'm going to link that in the show notes. I'm going to link, what do I have? I'm going to link your website. You have 2 books. I was going to link the Lit Code and the Underdog Story in the show notes of the podcast, as well as your LinkedIn. Another name is Courtney Anderson.
Courtney is what I call illuminator. It's when you look at illuminate, I call him illuminator. When you look at illuminate or illuminate, it means to shine and to spark. And when I'm talking to Courtney, which is not just, he's a brother and in business as well, the relationship we have and the things we've been able to do, he is going to shine and spark light and spark thought as well through how he's able to tell a story or give some type of content and tie it back to myself or life.
Yeah.
Or how he's able to ask questions. So I look at him as illuminator. He's one of those guys that can come into a room and shine and spark thought.
No, love it. I have 2 more names for you. Jalen Parmalee.
Authenticity. Jalen, what I respected about him, and this is difficult in the NFL locker room, is you find a lot of guys, and I've been this guy, that you're trying to stay and be with the crowd, and you end up showing up in a way that you're not being yourself. And I would say that authenticity is living in a way that it helps you sleep peaceful at night by showing up being your authentic self. And when I hear Jalen Parmalee, he's a guy that showed up that you knew what you were going to get out of him. Like, regardless on like guys pushing on him and challenging him and, man, listen to this or go here and do this. Like, Jalen just stayed the course in who he was and what he valued and how he operated.
Man.
And there was nothing that I saw that got him off that course. It didn't mean that it was challenging for him and it didn't suck at times, but he was very authentic in how he showed up and who he was and what he said. And he really gave me an example of, man, you just find a way. And we were playing in a preseason game, and Jalen's in a situation that I was in, like we're fighting to make the roster. And the offense, Jalen played running back.
Yep.
The offense is on the 1-yard line. All they got to do is score. Well, the quarterback throws the ball. Defense picks it off. Guy takes off. He's for to run a 99-yard touchdown. And Jalen Parmalee hawks this guy down, bro, and tackles him on the 1-yard line. And I don't know before that happened if Jalen was on the cusp of not making the team, but the next day we get into film study and Coach Harbaugh pointed that play out. And he then said, Jalen, because of this effort, you just made the roster. Like in that moment, I was like, dude, like you really want to look at when you think your back is against the wall and you can't make it, what one more burst of energy or effort can do to allow you to get that opportunity or go to the next level.
Yeah.
And Jalen showed me that.
That's a great story.
That was another example.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
No, thanks for sharing insight on that one. Last name, and certainly not least, Des Bryant.
Passionate. Des can get a little, his name can get a bad rap, And to me, quite frankly, when you're in a leadership role, it's not for everybody to like you. Like if everybody's liking you all the time,
Something's wrong.
then it's like, yeah, man, I
Yeah.
don't know if you're really doing it. Yeah, something's wrong. And Dez was very passionate about the team and what we did and how we showed up. And Dez was passionate about that because that's what he required out of himself. Like, and the best message spoke is the one you live. And Dez Bryant and Sean Lee, which a lot of people don't talk a lot
The
about,
linebacker
for the Cowboys.
underrated, man. Middle linebacker, man, from Penn State.
Underrated.
Yeah, man, so underrated, man. Like,
yeah, Dez and Sean. Yeah, so underrated. Dez and Sean, specifically Dez, man, those guys just demanded more out of themselves every single day on how they practice. Like whether it was running routes or whether we were doing walkthroughs with the linebackers and Sean Lee was over there. We're literally just doing walkthroughs. The detail and the effort that went into what Dez did that the cameras did not see, that the media did not see. And what Dez did is he simply demanded out of his people and what he demanded out of himself. And I would say that that's a form of leadership. It's you living something out before you speak about it. And Dez was very passionate about not just what he talked about, but what he lived out. Like you felt that in his words. And for some people, that pushed them the wrong way. And I would say that, man, when somebody's speaking about something and they're talking to you about something, it's pushing on that nervous system a little bit for you. It's probably important to question, what's the reason behind this? Is this revealing something to me that I'm not doing?
Yeah.
Possibly. Just consider it. Consider it.
I personally am a Dez Bryant fan. I'm from Oklahoma and an Oklahoma State fan, and he was a monster.
Yeah.
And
monster.
Yeah, he was a monster. And even with the Cowboys, he had a great run and a phenomenal player. I want to ask just another miscellaneous question. So let's just say that there was a new release of player cards, and you had a card, right, that was being released for purchase or just out in the world. But instead of having like your stats and your little bit of your general background that most trading and playing player cards have, what does that ideal? But you could put anything you want on this player card. What does the ideal player card for Edgar Jones look like?
If I could put something on the back, it's like, right?
Or like anything you want on it, like your own personal, instead of having like, hey, here's your height, here's your weight, here's your college, here's your stats from the, the 7 years, whatever, from the NFL. But instead of that stuff, those stats, you could have, we'll call it stats from your milestones and accomplishments. What would you want on there? Well, ideally, what would you have on there?
Man, the first thing that comes to mind is I would write a quote or a saying, and that is, make sure you keep your commitments to yourself. Too many times in life, man, we give our commitments to people and tell them what we're going to do and how we're going to show up, and rightfully so, right? Your word is everything. And your word and your character and your integrity, that's currency.
Yeah.
However, I found that we keep our commitments to people, but we fail to keep the commitments to ourselves. So I would write on that card, keep your commitment to yourself. If you say you're going to do it, do it. And then I'll also write that nobody can beat you at being you.
Oh. Man.
Nobody can beat you at being you. Like, it's only one of you. So, like, be good at being you and find out, like, what is it that I am good at? And double down on that and work on that and cultivate that.
Yeah.
And then I would say, show up in life each day doing the 3 C's. You ready for them?
I'm ready. I'm listening. Yeah, absolutely.
Create, connect, and contribute. When you look at nature, when you look at at least for me, when I get into my Bible, man, there's three things that's very clear to me in the three C's. Nature does a great job of showing this, and when I get into my Bible, you can clearly see this as well. But nature's always creating for us. It's creating more than we actually deserve as little humans. Yeah. So for me, when I look at creating, I look at what's been given to me, what gift has been given to me, and how can I create solutions to problems based off the gifts and the talents that's been given to me. So one of the gifts is I can storytelling and be able to communicate and share very simple things that we see on a day-to-day basis, but then tie it back to life.
Yeah.
That's a gift, and I haven't always done a good job at cultivating and taking care of that. But now, like, understanding, I see it. So creating solutions to problems based off of what's been given to you. The second thing is to connect with people. We're built for connection. We're wired for connection. It's why we tailgate. It's why we get into fraternities. It's why we get into sororities. We want to feel like we're connected to something. Yeah. So am I taking time to connect with someone? Maybe, Martin, that's me being in a grocery store and taking the time to just slow down enough to connect with somebody that's on the taco shell aisle. I don't know. Like taking the time to listen to them and have a conversation. Or maybe it's taking the time to say, you know what, once a week, I'm going to send a text or an email or give a phone call to just a person that's in my phone book in my phone, or reach out to an old friend just to say, hey, hello, thinking about you, hope all is well. That's connection. Or maybe connecting with a team member. Hey, tomorrow I'm going to reach out to 2 or 3 of my team members and check in and say, hey, checking in with you. Need anything? How can I better support you? Connection. The third thing is to create, connect, and contribute.
Contribute, yeah.
Nature's always contributing. It contributes. It's giving. It's giving all the time. And giving to something that's bigger than me. Maybe that's your time, your resources, but contributing to something that's bigger than me. And I would say that for people that's very hard on themselves, what's been my North Star for me, and it's allowed me to assess like my day, it is, Edgar, are we creating? Are we connecting? And are we contributing? And I've added 2 other C's in it, which is to compete, physically compete, like working out, staying active, and then contemplate as well. Contemplate for me means to like sit and get still. So on the back of that card, I would say, make sure you keep your commitments to yourself, and each day ask yourself this question. How are we creating? What are we creating? Am I taking time to connect? Am I contributing? And then if we can add the other 2 C's, am I competing? And am I taking time to contemplate?
Man, I typically end every podcast with a billboard question, but that 100% I think meets answers that. I typically ask people if they had a giant billboard with their picture on it for the world to see, where would they want that billboard to be and what they want that message to say. But I think the 3 C or the 5 C's that's a phenomenal response. So I want to end on one question is, how can I best serve you? What can I do for you?
Man, great question. You know, this journey has been interesting, and I'm a professional speaker. I've been fortunate enough to speak to Cigna Insurance multiple times, and Charles Schwab a couple of times, and a couple of small companies and large companies as well. And then through that, it's been the executive coaching as well. So for individuals that's looking for not just a speaker, but for someone that cares about connection, and putting and delivering a message that can resonate with the audience. And then it's things that they can do and apply it in their day-to-day, in their job or in their personal life. Man, anybody that you know that's looking for a coach or a speaker, man, I would greatly appreciate it if you could recommend
Absolutely.
me. And I enjoy what I do. I really do. It's very, very rewarding. It's because it's not just about speaking. It's about connection. It's about when you get off stage, people saying, "Hey, when you talked about this resonated with me, and I'm going to apply this in my life." Or after I spoke to an organization or working with a client 2 months down the road or a couple weeks down the road, they say, "Hey, Edgar, when you talked about this framework, I applied it with my team or I applied it in my personal life, and here's how it's been helpful."
Yeah.
That's me creating. Like, that's what it's about, and that's the reward of it. And you can't put a price tag on it. So hopefully that answered your question, Mark.
No. Edgar, thank you so much for being on my podcast. Thank you so much for the kind words. When you talked about how you listen to my podcast and you've been impressed, like that means a lot to me, because I pour so much into this. Man, and you're someone that I've wanted on my podcast for a while. So this is an honor. Again, just thank you so much. I appreciate you, man.
And thank you. And hopefully, man, you'll have me back on.
Absolutely.
You know, I know there's so many other different things we can talk and discuss about. So I look forward to coming back on. But thank you again for having me, and thank you for how you show up.